Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Nurses in the News. We are doing our 5 p.m. live stream of the Lindsay Clancy trial. We are here on day 6. Most of the testimony today was the forensic scientist, the crime lab. There was a she agreed that she would not dispute the facts of, what they collected at the crime scene, how they collected the blood, etc., etc. She agreed to that stipulation. Like, she's not disputing those facts, which was a bombshell in this case. What I want to go over here in this stream today, what I'm seeing is Reddington seems to be losing his cool with the witnesses. Several, we seen it yesterday with the ER doc, and we're seeing it again today with several witnesses. So let's start with the general surgeon, right? Let's get right into it.
Buckingham, please.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jury your first and last name?
Christina Carpio.
And can you spell your last name for the record?
C-A-R-P as in Peter, I-O.
And what do you do for work?
I am a general surgeon trained in trauma and critical care.
And where do you currently work?
I'm hired by Brigham, but I work at South Shore Hospital.
Can you tell us a little bit about your educational background?
I completed medical school and then went to general surgery residency for 5 years at Columbia Presbyterian. I then did 2 additional years of trauma and surgical critical care at Yale, and then I've been working for Brigham and South Shore Hospital since 2016.
And
my salary comes from Brigham, but I work only at South Shore Hospital.
okay, so that was kind of my follow-up question. Generally, your day-to-day work is at the South Shore Hospital in Weymouth?
That's correct.
And what kind of hospital, or what level hospital, trauma level hospital is the South Shore Hospital?
A level 2.
And so if there are cases that come in that need more acute care, are they generally sent over to a hospital in Boston like the Brigham?
Yes, depending, sometimes we get input from the subspecialists to guide that decision.
And as far as your role as a trauma surgeon, do you actually do surgeries at the South Shore Hospital?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm going to draw your attention to January 24th of 2023. Were you working at the South Shore Hospital that day?
Yes.
And what was your role that day?
I was the on-call surgeon. I was physically in the hospital working.
At some point in the evening hours, were you advised that a patient was being transported to the South Shore emergency room as a level 1 trauma?
Yes.
And so when you are advised of that level of trauma, or you're advised of a critical patient coming into the emergency department, what do you do?
There are guidelines for how quickly we have to be present in the emergency room. Because I'm also operating, at times I may be in the operating room when that notification happens.
So in this particular case, when a patient, a female patient by the name of Lindsay Clancy was coming into the emergency department, were you able to go down to the emergency department as part of the assessment team?
Yes.
And who were you working with from the emergency department in this case?
Dr. Kelly McDonough.
Now, is that a common thing that you collaborate with the emergency room doctors or nurses and technicians in a situation like this?
Yes.
Did you have information that came in through the EMS or the paramedics about the nature of the patient's condition?
I recall that we were told it was a fall of unclear mechanism from a height of about 20 feet.
And were you advised that there was the possibility of maybe neurological deficits or some serious spinal injury?
Yes.
And as a result of that information, did that inform your trauma assessment?
It was already activated as a level 1. That's the highest mechanism when there is concern for a height from a certain level, a fall from a height of a certain level, and with possible neurological injury.
So were members of the neurology department also part of that trauma assessment team?
No.
Okay. As far as your assessment, did you go and physically see the patient, make observations?
Yes.
And did you observe her in the emergency department to be intubated?
Shortly after arrival, she was intubated.
So that was done by the staff at South Shore Hospital, to your knowledge?
Yes.
And did you observe injuries to her neck and her wrists?
Yes.
Did you evaluate those to determine whether they needed immediate surgical intervention?
Yes.
Did they?
No, they were superficial.
And as far as...
And there we have it. We have another physician. We had the emergency room physician yesterday, and now we have a general surgeon, Dr. Christina Carpio, saying those wounds were superficial. So the defense can throw that out. Those wounds are superficial. It wasn't a valid SI attempt. If you're just coming into the chat, leave your comments. We will be going over the comments in the chat. Let's get back into it.
As additional tests to assess whether there's any other surgical intervention that's needed, are you aware that CT scans were ordered?
Yes.
And are you aware what areas of the body they were ordered for?
We did a pan scan, which means we scanned the head, the neck, the chest, and the abdomen, pelvis.
As far as your physical observations of the patient, did you observe any obvious injuries to her head area, like abrasions, contusions, fractures?
There were lacerations to her neck.
Okay, but as far as the rest of her head or around her, like,
Not
skull
obvious.
or
No.
face? And so when those CT scans were done, were you able to review the information that came from them?
Yes.
And as far as those CT scans, you're aware that there was a head CT scan, or two head CT scans, one with contrast and one without? Mm-hmm. And were you aware that the findings, were there no definite acute intracranial findings on the non-contrast enhanced head CT?
Yes.
And there were no significant findings on the contrast head CT, correct?
The head CT with contrast was what we call an angiogram head and neck. So it's ordered in two parts and has two reports. At the time of the documentation that was performed, we had the report back on the head section, but the neck was not completed at that time.
Okay. Was there eventually a completed angiogram of the neck area at South Shore Hospital?
The images were done, the report was completed. I don't know the timeline of when the report came in compared to when the patient was transferred.
So as far as your initial assessment in that trauma assessment period, or that wasn't information you had available to you about the neck findings, correct?
The angio neck findings, correct.
Okay. And that's different from other CT scans on the cervical spine and other areas of the spine. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. As the trauma surgeon evaluating this case, did you identify that there were some serious spinal injuries to the cervical and thoracic areas?
Yes.
Did any of those require you to intervene with surgical intervention?
No.
Reddington, he keeps going with the, one of his big strong points was that she had this head injury, and both physicians are saying she did not.
Do you recall making note that while in the emergency department, the patient became hypertensive and that she was identified as being hypothermic to 82.1 degrees?
I remember that she was hypothermic when I reviewed my documentation. The two numbers I saw in my note were normal values of blood pressure, not high values, not hypertension.
Okay. If I may approach you just with one of the pages from the notes, read your review. You could just tell me if I'm misinterpreting.
Oh, no problem. Which part?
It's towards the bottom, the second to last paragraph.
Oh, she was hypotensive, which means low blood pressure, different from hypertension, which is high blood pressure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But as far as the hypothermic, that you recall that she was at a very low core body temperature.
Yes, that's correct.
And do you know what was done to raise her body temperature?
We raise the temperature in the trauma room to be able to raise her body temperature. That's usually our first line. of intervention.
And do you also have available to you at the South Shore Hospital what's called a bear hugger or some sort of blanket or wrappings that you can wrap around an individual to try to get their body temperature up?
Yes, we have that.
And at some point, her body temperature did come up to 95.2 degrees, correct?
Yes.
And based on your observations of her, did anything change about those lacerations that you observed once her body temperature was up that warranted some surgical intervention of those injuries?
No.
What was the ultimate recommendation for the care of this patient?
She had complex fractures in her spine at the thoracic level. We conferred with our neurosurgery colleague who was on call, who recommended transfer to a tertiary hospital.
And so where did this patient go?
Brigham.
Okay. Now, you identified that your hospital is a level 2 trauma, correct?
Yes.
After fully reviewing this patient, did you agree that this was a level 1 trauma situation?
Yes.
Are you able to do surgical intervention for these particular injuries that you observed on this patient at South Shore Hospital?
The spinal injuries require input from our neurosurgical team.
And there was none available to you at the South Shore Hospital?
We did contact the on-call neurosurgeon. Because we are a level 2 trauma center, they are not required to be physically present in the hospital, but they were immediately available and they can remotely review images.
So I guess my question is, why didn't you do any surgeries regarding those injuries at South Shore Hospital? Why did you recommend the care to a tertiary hospital?
The complex level of spinal injuries was deemed necessary for transfer by our neurosurgery colleague.
Okay, thank you.
Reddington.
Morning.
Good morning.
I just want to pause right here. So basically, we got the gist of it. We know her injuries were significant. All right, she's paralyzed. Her injuries were significant, but superficial on the neck, superficial on the wrist. So most of her injuries came from the fall. Let's listen in.
Just a few questions. So South Shore Hospital, and you made reference to as being a trauma hospital, and the injuries suffered by Lindsay were at level 1. Is that what it was?
Yes, that's correct.
That would be the highest level. Is that right?
Yes.
As far as risk or concern of the person's safety and health and survival.
Yes.
What time, if you remember, what time approximately was she admitted to South Shore Hospital?
The word admission means that she would have remained there as a patient, so she was never formally admitted.
Okay.
For the time that she was brought in by EMS, I would have to refer to that information from the record.
Do you have an idea as to how long she was at your hospital?
Likely several hours, but again, I would have to see the specifics in the charts of there is documentation with EMS for arrival and for when transfer occurred to Brigham.
Okay. And at some point, it was decided that she would be transferred to Boston, right?
Yes.
Brigham and Women's Hospital.
Yes.
And it was decided by someone that they weren't going to put her in an ambulance for that transport, right?
I would have to look at the record for what was the method of transfer to Brigham.
Do you know how she was transferred? By helicopter? Med flight?
I don't know, because MedFlight MedFlight covers 2 modes of transportation: MedFlight ambulance and MedFlight helicopter.
Do you know that she was MedFlight helicopter to Boston?
I don't know that.
And the time that she left was after you all had provided the treatment that you were able to provide to Lindsay as a patient, right?
Yes.
And you reached the end of your rope. She had to be transferred because she needed immediate high-level medical care, right?
She needed higher level of care. Yes.
Higher level of care. And as a result, she was then brought to Brigham and Women's Hospital. Now, the treatment that you had given would include raising her apparently temperature, I guess, because she came in at a low temperature, right?
Yes.
And did you use IV fluids?
I would have to check the record, but that is a
Did
common
she-
intervention.
So your memory would be that you believe that you used IV fluids, but you'd have to have me get out of the box and check the record to ask that question, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. It didn't really work out very well, though, did it? Because you know that when she was brought to Boston, after all of the time that she was treated at your hospital, she was still core temperature of 82 when she hit Brigham and Women's.
Objection.
No, allow it if she knows.
I did not look at the medical record from another institution. I only reviewed my note from South Shore Hospital.
Did you know that your patient had coded shortly after being brought to Brigham and Women's Hospital?
No.
Did you know that she had to have massive transfusions right after being brought to the hospital in Boston?
No.
Did anybody in South Shore Hospital make a determination that she had lost a lot of blood?
The EMS report did not share that there was a large volume of blood at the
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You know, Attorney Reddington has several times went after the credibility of
scene.
medical providers.
She was evaluated to her part of her
and you know, this can ruin your reputation. This can ruin your reputation. Wow.
CAT scans also help us evaluate for intra-abdominal blood loss.
Okay, so when you raise the issue of the EMS, that would be the ambulance, right?
Yes.
And their report, their run sheet, they prepare, right? That's what you're talking about, right?
There's verbal report from EMS when the patient is brought in, and also the run sheet of the details.
Okay. And when the people from the EMS came in, did they speak to you about the verbal report?
They address the entire room, so all the staff in the room is available to hear the details.
And you're able to look at the run sheet, correct?
No, the run sheet is not always immediately available.
So did the EMTs, to your knowledge, as a treating surgeon physician in the trauma center, tell you that there was blood loss?
Not to my recollection.
Did anyone tell you that at the scene where she was being treated after coming out of the window and striking the ground, that there was blood on the snow and on the leaves and in the grass?
I cannot recall if they commented on that.
Is that important for you to know if there's blood loss on a patient?
If there is a large volume of blood loss, yes, the EMS will routinely comment on the patient being found.
Yeah, but that's the EMS. You're the surgeon, right?
Wow, he is going in.
That is correct, sir, yes.
Yeah, and one of the things would be blood pressure, right? What the person's blood pressure is, correct?
Yes.
And she had, if I understand your testimony correctly, low blood pressure.
She initially, when she came in, the note has a normal blood pressure, and then after intubation, her blood pressure dropped.
Okay. Do you know what caused the blood pressure to drop?
There were several factors at play. As we discovered from her CAT scan, she had an injury to her spinal cord in the thoracic region that very commonly causes issues with maintaining your blood pressure.
And do you know what her blood pressure was? I mean, if you don't, that's fine. You need the records.
Blood pressure at which point?
At the point I'm asking you about, when you noted that she had low blood pressure.
No, I don't remember how hypotensive she was, no.
As far as being hypertensive, did you know that when she finally hit the Boston hospital that she had massive transfusion of blood?
I thought I asked and answered.
Oh, did you?
You asked me before and I answered that no, I did not know that.
Okay. So how about, did you know that they introduced pleural tubes in both sides of her chest and removed many, many cc's of blood from both the right and left pleural cavity?
No, I just object to the line of questioning. The witness has already indicated she hasn't reviewed those records. She's not aware of what happened at the Brigham. To go through each and every injury is not necessary.
No, she can answer that.
Judge said she can answer it.
No, I do not know that about the patient when she was not at South Shore Hospital.
How about the superficial cuts that you were talking about? Would you suggest or would you agree that on the right ulnar area and the left ulnar area of the upper extremities, right and left, that there were a deep cut noted in the skin?
The notes about her wrist injuries said that it was through the skin with exposed fat, but there was no exposed muscle or tendon. So
Okay.
those are more superficial.
So you would not agree that they were deep cuts on both arms? You wouldn't agree with that?
No, I would not.
And again, you're not aware of anything that was diagnosed in Brigham and Women's Hospital, right?
That is correct.
As far as the injury to her spine, what kind of injury was it? Do you remember?
It was at thoracic level T5, T6.
And what type of injury was there to the spine?
The report said that the stability of this, the pattern of it indicated that there was instability of the spine, which is why we conferred with the neurosurgeon.
Right. And nothing much came out of that either, as far as conferring with the neurosurgeon, right?
I'm not sure what you mean by nothing much came of
Well, you
that.
didn't show up to come to the hospital, right?
We didn't. I'm not sure.
Okay, the spine was transected at T5, T6, right?
The team, or rather the input you would need for further commentary on the spine would be a neurosurgery team. I am not a neurosurgeon. I am a general surgeon.
So you're not aware of the transection. You know what a transection is, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. And on your CAT scans or on your pictures that you were describing for the jury with no problem for the DA.
Whoa. He is going in.
Did you notice that the spine was transected at T5 and T6?
There was compression of the bones. I would have to specifically look at the report to see if it used the word transection.
Okay, how about a thyroid? Did you notice anything about a thyroid?
It said that there was edema at the thyroid, concern for contusion or laceration.
And that's the extent of your knowledge. You don't know whether or not the thyroid was destroyed or anything, do you?
Correct.
Okay. How about her ribs? You notice that some of her ribs were broken.
I would have to look at her CAT scan report again.
Yeah. So coming in here today, you're not aware whether or not she had broken ribs because you haven't been able to look at your records. Is that right?
Wow.
I did review my records. I would have to specifically state into the record what was the injuries. I would be happy to read from my note, which I know is part of the evidence.
Yeah. So who is it that decides that a patient is going to be med-flighted into Boston from South Shore Hospital?
Some of it depends on the level of injury and the transport teams that are available at that moment. Sometimes a med-flight ambulance is faster. Sometimes med-flight is available. It all depends on the available resources at the time of the event.
So what I asked you is who decides whether or not somebody's getting med-flighted out of South Shore Hospital?
Is collaborative between what resources are available for us to transport the patient. The decision to transfer the patient is made between the emergency room team and the trauma team, and the input from the subspecialist.
Go ahead.
Let her finish.
Yeah, no, I didn't know she was still talking. Go ahead.
I finished, sir.
All right. So you as the trauma surgeon, would you agree that you had a little bit to do with whether or not she was in dire straits and had to be med-flighted to Boston?
I would be part of the decision to transfer her.
Do you remember that decision being made, and do you remember the meeting that you had to make that decision?
I remember conferring with the emergency room team that neurosurgery had said she needed transfer.
And it was by med-flight, right? You don't know whether it's an ambulance or a helicopter, but you know it was med-flight.
It should have been med-flight, yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right. Commonwealth, any redirect?
Okay, so basically, he's creating the doubt that these doctors, with the jury, that these physicians really didn't know much about her care, because they're saying a lot of, I don't recall, I don't know what that is, I don't know what this is. So he's creating the doubt. How can you say without a shadow of a doubt that those wounds were superficial when you didn't know anything about any of the rest of her care? You know, like he said with the DA, you guys answer your questions clear, but with me, not so much.
It was very clear to you.
So let's see what she says on redirect.
That this patient was suffering from multiple injuries.
Yes.
And is it the policy of the South Shore Hospital to make sure a patient is stable before they're transported?
Yes, that's correct.
And so that's what the emergency team and the entire team that's collaborating on her did, right?
Yes, correct. We would not put an unstable patient in any mode of transport to another facility.
So in the review of all the CT scans, the abdominal scans, the head scans, the chest x-rays, all of the things that were reviewed, it was identified that she was stable enough to be transported.
So I'm going to object because I think she's a hostile witness, and this is leading, which I haven't objected to yet, but at this point I am on this witness.
I'll allow this question. Okay.
Sorry, what was your answer?
Could you repeat the question, please?
So after reviewing all of the imaging, the CT scans, the chest x-rays, everything, you and your team were comfortable that she was stable enough to be transported to another hospital, correct?
Yes.
And I think your testimony was that a large contributor to the decision to transport was the information that you got from the neurosurgery team.
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Anything on that, Ms. Brington? All right, thank you, Doctor.
All right, thank you, sir.
Wow. So Kevin Reddington is losing his cool. He's getting very frustrated today. He was very frustrated with several of the witnesses. He is making it look like the medical providers are negligent, that they really, especially at South Shore Hospital, that they were negligent, because when she got to the Brigham, she did code, right? So these are facts. She did code. Now we're going to watch testimony with him and one of the state police officers where he got, he lost his cool with him as well. If you're just coming in, share on the chat, please.
The main thing you do at every scene, no matter what it is document the scene with photographs. Depending on the type of scene you're at, you may also document the scene with video. You may also sketch the scene by hand. Then also you may collect items of evidence to be processed later, or you may even process items at the scene. What you're processing for is fingerprints. You try to develop fingerprints. If there are any, you can do fingerprint analysis and try to determine whose fingerprints are on the items of evidence.
And that can be done at a crime scene, but it also can be done back at the crime laboratory, correct?
Correct.
Depending on the item and where it was located.
Yes.
As far as your response to particular scenes, do you often go out to crime scenes in tandem with or with a crime scene response unit investigator, forensic scientist?
Yes.
And you indicated that one of the first things and one of the main things you do is document scenes. Is it best practice to be kind of that first in after a scene is secured to document the scene as it appeared?
Yes.
And how do you do that?
So when you respond to a scene, usually the town that you respond to, the local police department will secure the scene, which means they don't allow anyone in to disrupt the scene until you get there. Then you start with photographing the exterior of the residence, and then you walk in and just document the entire scene room by room as it is.
And after that's done, do you kind of go back through and highlight or identify in any way particular things that may be relevant to the investigation of
Yes.
the crime scene you're responding to?
Yes.
And how do you identify in the documentation items that might have some relevance or evidentiary value?
So some items might kind of be obvious if they're involved in the crime that are still there. Those you want to document further. And sometimes a detective or detective unit or a member will ask you to document another piece of evidence that that they would like collected or they would like further looked at.
And you indicated that with crime scene services, you respond to all different kinds of scenes and all different types of law enforcement. So sometimes do you work with the local city or town departments?
Yes.
And in investigations where a death has occurred, who are the primary law enforcement that you're working with?
So there will be local, and there will also be the county state police detective unit will also respond for any death investigation.
Now, when you are processing a scene or documenting a scene, do you do anything to identify and highlight the items that have been either pointed out to you or that you've seen that could have value in the case?
Yes.
What do you do?
So with those, we put what's called placards. And placards are pieces of plastic that have numbers on them. That way, when you're going through the photos, you can refer to them as placard 1, placard 2, and so on and so forth.
And as far as further processing the scene between yourself and the crime scene response, are some items sometimes collected by either yourself or the crime scene response unit?
Yes.
And when you collect an item, do you identify it in some other way?
Yes, when you collect an item and it's put into evidence in the lab, it's given a lab number. The lab number doesn't have to match up with the placard number. The placard's simply for your photos, and then the lab number is the number that will be associated with that piece of evidence all through the crime lab process, all the way through the trial.
And when you go to crime scenes for inside houses, for instance, is it oftentimes the case that you are processing the crime scene at the same time investigators are getting into a location with a search warrant?
Yes.
And so when that's the circumstance, do you photograph and document everything that you can?
I'm sorry, can you...
Sure, I can. That's a bad question. When you are with kind of the local law enforcement, do you document things oftentimes that maybe you don't collect and take back to the lab, or the forensic scientist doesn't, but might have value or relevance to the police?
Yes.
Pausing right here. If you're just coming in to the live stream, we are talking about how the defense attorney, Kevin Reddington, is, losing his cool. He's losing his patience with a lot of the witnesses. He's being very abrasive. He's going back and forth with a lot of the witnesses, and that's becoming like one of the main focuses of the trial.
And in those instances, they're not assigned those same item numbers, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to draw your attention to January 24th of 2023. Do you recall going or being called out to 47 Summer Street in Duxbury?
Yes, I do.
And what was your role on that scene?
So the role was the Plymouth State Police Detective Unit had been called out to what was reported as a homicide at that address. So we were called out to document the scene and collect any items of evidence that needed to be processed.
Now, in relation to this particular investigation, when you arrived there, had the state police and the Duxbury police already secured the home?
Yes.
And again, in this situation, were you arriving and going into the home at the same time that a search warrant was being executed?
Yes, we waited for the search warrant to be signed, brought to the scene, and then photographed the search warrant, and then we started documenting the scene.
Okay. And fair to say, in this case, there were a number of items that were identified by your unit by the placards.
Yes.
And if I tell you that you documented 8 specific placards at the crime scene on that particular day, does that sound about right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Including a brown belt, some exercise bands, 3 in particular, a pair of red pajamas, a pink sweatshirt or a robe, a pink piece of clothing, a knife with a black handle, and a phone. Does
Yes.
those sound right?
It does.
And I won't go through each and every item because we've seen several of those items before.
Yes, it's very redundant.
Just in particular, as it relates to placards 7 and 8, I'm just going to ask you to take a look at some photos, okay?
Okay.
So I'm showing you a photograph of placard 7. Is that familiar to you?
Yes, it is.
And what is the placard 7? What was that to highlight or depict?
That was a knife covering a red-brown stain found in the upstairs master bedroom.
All right, that may be admitted.
And I'm showing you another photograph with depicting placard number 8. Is that familiar to you?
Yes.
And that was a cell phone that was also noted in your documentation of the scene, correct?
Yes.
So today, Lindsay Clancy put some stipulations in there where she agreed that all the evidence collected, everything at the crime lab, she's not going to dispute any of that. So that was a bombshell. They said that might cut the trial like in half because it was supposed to be long. But as you can see, a lot of this information is redundant.
Now, as far as collecting of particular items on this scene, you're aware that there were several of the placarded items that were collected by crime scene services to take back to the lab.
Yes.
And fair to say the yellow exercise band at placard number 2, the black exercise band at placard number 3, the blue exercise band at placard number 4, the red pajamas, and the silver knife with the black handle were all collected.
Yes, I believe the red pajamas were collected by the crime scene response unit.
Okay. Do you recall collecting the knife?
Yes.
Why would you collect the knife as part of the crime scene response? Or excuse me.
There's no objection to any of this physical evidence being introduced.
You just, that's all right. I'm going to allow this line of inquiry just to kind of put things in perspective. Go ahead.
Thank you. Why would you collect the knife as part of the crime scene services as opposed to the crime scene response?
So we would collect the knife because that would be an item that would be processed for fingerprints at the lab.
And based on your training and experience, fingerprint analysis, is that something that should happen before any other biological testing?
Yes.
And why is that?
So fingerprints are extremely fragile. Anything that the forensic scientist would
This is
do
important.
would destroy any fingerprints that may or may not be that may be on a item of evidence.
Okay. And so I'm just going to approach and show you an item.
Oh, they got the knife.
Is that item familiar to you?
Yes, it is.
Is that the knife that you collected that was located at placard number 7?
Yes.
Thank you. I would move to admit this as the next exhibit.
All right, that may be admitted.
Exhibit 179.
Now, that knife was brought back to the crime lab, to your unit?
Yes.
And in addition to the knife, did you also bring back the exercise bands?
Yes.
As far as your analysis of those items for fingerprints, what did you do to try to identify if there was anything on them?
So when we're examining for fingerprints, we're looking for latent prints which are fingerprints that aren't necessarily visible to the naked eye. Therefore, chemicals must be applied to bring it out to make them visible. Those are non-porous items. So for those, we would use, it's commonly referred to, what was cyanoacrylate ester. It's more commonly known as superglue. And we put them in a chamber with the superglue. The superglue is heated. There's water, so there's humidity in this chamber. The entire chamber fills with superglue fume, so it adheres to anything fingerprint related on those items. Once the chamber is cleared of the fumes, you open it, and then you can now see if there are any fingerprints on there.
Is it fair
and
to say
that also hardens and preserves the fingerprints on the items of evidence for further testing if needed.
Okay, and is it fair to say that when you touch an item and like leave some remnants of a fingerprint, it's the oils and everything that are on your finger that leave the impression on the item?
Yes.
And so are there things that can affect whether you actually get enough information to analyze a fingerprint?
Yes.
What kinds of things can influence that?
So it could be the texture of the actual object itself. It could also be environmental factors. If there's low humidity, it could be if there's the person touching the item might not have residue on their hands. There's also movement can affect fingerprints. The strength, the grip on an item also affects that, as well as they could be wiped off because fingerprints, like I said, are very, very, very fragile.
Okay, and so is it oftentimes the case that you analyze for a print and don't find anything of value?
Yes.
And so as it pertains to these items that you reviewed, the knife, the exercise bands, can you tell us what your findings were when it came to the knife?
Yes, the knife did have limited detail, meaning that there were areas of friction ridge impressions, which is that's what we've referred to fingerprints. Is the friction ridge skin is the skin that covers your palms and your fingers and your toes and your feet. The friction ridge skin is what leaves the impression on an object. So there was an area of friction ridge impression on that knife. Mm-hmm. So it was photographed further and giving an item number. Upon further analysis, there was not enough detail to do a comparison.
So when you photograph it for further analysis, why do you do that?
Do that in order to take a deeper look to see if there was enough characteristics or minutia to do a comparison to a known print.
So with a photograph, you can enhance it and look at it closer, correct?
Correct.
But after doing that, were you able to make any sort of opinions about that area on the knife?
Yes, there was not enough characteristics or minutia to do any comparison, so it was deemed no value.
And as far as the exercise bands, fair to say you also did the same and examined those to try to identify if they had any friction ridge detail or anything of value that you could conduct a comparison on, right?
Yes.
And was there any on either the yellow band, the black band, or the blue band?
No, there was not enough to do, no value.
And after you're done looking for these delicate fingerprints, what do you do with the items next?
So, wait a minute. There was no fingerprints on the knife or the exercise bands? She's not contesting this anymore, but that's very strange.
So the items are repackaged and they moved on to the forensic scientists to do their testing.
And usually that's the criminalistics unit first, correct?
Yes.
Now, in this particular case, as we discussed, you were also documenting as state police were executing a search warrant, correct?
Yes.
And you did that again with additional photographs?
Yes.
I'm just going to show you a couple photographs, if that's okay. 3 photographs. That's the first one. It's a little hard to see, but do you see an item depicted in there? A square item?
I'm sorry, where exactly do you...
Well, do you see that this photograph, a little washed out, but it depicts an area of the home?
Yes.
Or an item in the home?
Oh,
The
yes.
dresser?
Yes. Oh, yes, the dresser.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have another photograph with a drawer open. Is that familiar to you?
Yes.
And then a third one, with an action item pulled out.
Yes.
And fair to say, when you're photographing things as they are found, you photograph where it comes from as it's being examined, and then the item in and of itself.
Yes.
So these three photographs, would they depict the location of a brown journal?
Yes.
Okay. I would move to admit these as the next.
All right, those may be admitted.
And sir, as far as the dresser, that was located in the basement of the home, correct?
Yes, correct.
And the item that was collected was not collected
right now,
by
I
you
don't
or the
really
crime
see
scene
why he's
response
on
trooper,
the
but
stand.
in fact by the State Police Detectives Unit, to your knowledge.
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. Reddington.
Okay, how did he help her case? I'm confused as to why he was on the stand. You know, Lindsay has waived. After all this was going on and calling all this law enforcement and chain of command, she has said, we're not disputing any more of that evidence. Like, yes, we're not disputing that. We don't need to keep calling them because there's really no reason for this police officer to be on the stand, the state trooper. Fingerprints or none of that was never in question. So why is he on there as an expert witness? Now Reddington is going to go in. Let's see.
So basically, how long is your course that you take to become a crime scene technician for the state police?
So before you're certified for fingerprints, it's usually about a year.
So you're working in that crime scene services unit for a year while you're going to the school for it?
Yes, it's more of an internal training. You don't go to a specific school,
Okay.
but yes.
So you told us about your training. You told us about your experience. You told us about fingerprints. You told us how you seize items in the course of a search warrant. And then you told us about looking at the photographs and the items that would depict friction ridge, if any. But the bottom line is that you didn't get any fingerprints.
Correct.
Oh my God.
And you could have just said that, right? Just come on the witness stand and say, we didn't get any fingerprints.
Sustained.
So then you're talking about, as the state police investigating this case, you guys walk around and you have cameras and you take pictures, right?
Yes.
That's what you told us about. Well, how about when you're executing a search warrant? Are you supposed to be thorough in the course of your search for items?
I don't search for items, sir. Everything I do is,
Pictures, right?
yes, I document.
So if I went into the bedroom and if I found a bunch of drugs, in addition to the drugs that were found in the kitchen, and I found these in a nightstand with blood on top of the nightstand and the knife that you talked about, you would have photographed that, right?
Yes.
Never saw that, did you?
No.
I have no further questions.
All right. Redirect. All right. Thank you, sir. You step down. Thank you.
Yeah, so it looks like Attorney Reddington is fed up at this point. He's fed up, so much so that he had Lindsay put a stipulation in that, listen, we're not disputing any more of this evidence. We're not going to sit through any more crime lab technicians, law enforcement officers, state police, any more of that. You know, they even had the forensic crime lab scientists that took the baby's blood and examined it, and they didn't find anything in the blood. She said she's not disputing any of that, no DNA. She's not disputing any of that. They don't want to sit through that. It's really no point in that. It's no point in that. So the prosecution is calling a lot of witnesses that, don't have anything to offer. Why is this state police officer on the stand and he didn't collect any fingerprints? And you used up about 25 minutes of testimony and you didn't have anything in there. So we will be back. Thank you for coming. This live was, all about the defense attorney and how there's a turn coming with him. He's getting very frustrated with the prosecution and their witnesses. We will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp, to live stream day 7. Thank you.